Good evening. I call to order the February meeting of the Florence City Planning Commission, and we have a good crowd tonight, and we always appreciate that. Your participation, your input is very important to us. This is the people's business, and we're here to, as best we can, to do what's right, what's legal, and what's fair. So we cherish your inputs, encourage you to come forward and talk, and we'll get to this night and hopefully for the better for it. So with that said, I'm going to call Mr. Keith to do our invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious and Heavenly Father, we thank you, dear Lord, for another day's journey. God, we thank you for your grace and we thank you for your mercy. We ask now that you will come into this meeting. You will lead, guide, and direct us to do your will. And it's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, I ask everyone to stand with us and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the next item on our agenda is approval of last month's minutes. The commissioners received their packet. They've had a chance to review the minutes from last month. And if there are no changes, recommendations, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. Is there, or are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And like signs nay, and the ayes have it unanimously. Well, Mr. Johnson, how are you, sir?
Hey, good. How are y'all doing?
Great, thank you. I'll the first item, the next item is PC 2025-02, and I'll call for the staff report, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. So this is for a sketch plan review of Hunter's Ridge. This will be phases 1 and 2. This is a vicinity map. This is off of Alligator Road. Currently, it's known as 2501 Alligator Road. It's approximately 96 acres. It has been used for sort of a lay-down yard while they did the Alligator Road widening project. It's bordered on the north by Middle Swamp. You can see the open space recreation. And it is zoned RG3. The subdivisions to the west and east, or the zoning to the west and east, are for single-family small lots, which will be consistent with what is being proposed. So this is 333 lots. Phase 1 will be 179 lots. Phase 2, 154. Again, about 96 total acres. They are setting aside 28.45% of the development for open space, much of it being preserved Middle Swamp area. So this will be city, water, and sewer are both available, and any inspections that will be done for building or stormwater will be the jurisdiction of the city. They are required to put in a Type C buffer yard to prevent rear lot access and buffer the subdivision from Alligator Road. 20 feet wide. For every 100 linear feet, they'll plant 3 understory trees, 3 canopy trees, and 30 hedges to buffer it from Alligator Road. So that's what they're showing on the sketch plan. And in lieu of a traffic study, the developer and the engineer worked with DOT to go ahead and come up with a plan to account for the increased traffic going to the subdivision. So they were nice enough to put that on their sketch plan as well. So this will come back to city staff for development plan for greater review, but from what we can tell, this is what DOT will approve on their end for the encroachment permit to have access onto Alligator Road. So this is in compliance with the Unified Development Ordinance. That concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Commissioners, any questions of staff?
You said it was four phases,
It will be two
two
phases.
phases?
So 333 lots total, 179 in the first phase and 154 in the second phase. So this sketch plan approval would be for those two phases, the entire subdivision, 333 lots.
Any other questions?
My question, I always
Yes, sir.
ask, I keep asking, how about your fire hydrants and stuff like that, have they already calculated and also when you build all these houses?
Absolutely, yes, they'll have to meet fire code, and when they come back for development for staff review, we'll review it for water, sewer, stormwater, and any sort of E91 regulations that need to occur. Yes, sir, and fire hydrants will be one of those things we'll be checking for.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Any additional questions? For the audience tonight, several of these items do not have a public hearing portion of this, and consequently, we typically have not invited anyone to come forward. If you have a particular issue with the ones that don't have the public hearing. Mr. Dudley, I know that we have a possible item on here that does not have a public hearing. In the past, have we invited people from the audience to come speak for or against on something that does not have a public hearing?
In the past, where there's a concern from the audience or possibly a question that might arise that an audience member have, we have given them that opportunity, yes, in the past in such occasion.
And at a point of order, we would also ask for someone with a differing opinion to come to counter that. So we
could potentially, yes.
Yeah.
It could turn into a true public hearing, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Dudley. All right. The commissioners have heard from staff. The sketch plan is in compliance. The developer has further work to do for approval before he can certainly start construction. So with all that said, if there are no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the sketch plan as submitted. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Like signs nay, and the ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I think you're still with us.
I'm still with us, that's right.
All right, PC 2025-08. Staff report, please.
Okay, so this is Cedar Crest 2 connection. Right now, Cedar Crest phases 1 through 4 subdivision are in the city as shown in blue. And directly to the east is Cedar Crest 2, a different subdivision. But what the developer wants to do is create a connection between the two subdivisions. So same developer, owns both the properties. Right now it's going through sketch plan approval with the county for Cedar Crest 2. So Cedar Crest phases 1 through 4 in the city, you're looking at about 91 lots. And then Cedar Crest 2 in the county, you're looking at about 82 lots. So the developer's just desire is to take this parcel that's shown and extend the right-of-way, Weatherstone Lane, to connect the two pieces. So it is zoned RG3, and that will be pretty consistent with the same product that they have in the city, they'll have in the county. So here is the final plat that the city approved for Cedar Crest phases 3 and 4, and the parcel outlined in red will actually be turned into right-of-way, and the parcel to the north and the parcel to the south will actually gain a little bit of land in the process. Here is Cedar Crest 2, which is in the county. The sketch plan is going through County Planning Commission. And if you look at the circle, you can see where Weatherstone Lane is meant to connect the two subdivisions. So this is what the new plat will look like. So they've taken that previously recorded plat. They're going to give a little bit of land to lot 35, a little bit of land to lot 33, and create this opening between the two subdivisions. And that right-of-way is what the Planning Commission is approving, a sketch plan. So if they get approval for this, it will come to city staff for development plan, just like what we just talked about for the Hunter's Ridge subdivision. So they'll give us much more detailed plans about the roads, any utilities that might go in there, but as of now, I don't know of any water, sewer, stormwater utilities that will be going in. So this is for sketch plan approval of this right-of-way extension between the two subdivisions, and that does conclude staff's report.
Mr. Johnson, have lots 35 and 33 been sold? In other words, I haven't looked at the aerial. Are there residents?
I believe they're still owned by the developer. When he submitted everything for Planning Commission, he still had lot 35 and lot 33 because I think it was their plan for a while to do this. So no one will be affected. When I was out there to take pictures, they were constructing the homes.
Okay.
So as far as I know, the developer owns all the property that we're talking about right now.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
I do have a question.
Okay,
The
please.
new subdivision part that they're connecting it to, will that also have access to Sumter Street in that new development?
Yes, it definitely will. So yes, everything in the yellow is city. Everything uncolored is Florence County, and they will have connection off of Sumter Street. And here you can see the sketch plan. They will have at least one connection to Sumter Street. Yes, ma'am.
And it's the same developer for both.
That's exactly right.
All right, any additional questions? This is another item on our agenda that does not have a public hearing. So with that said, if there are no further questions, I will call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve as submitted. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The like signs nay, and the ayes have it again. PC 2025-09. Staff report, please.
Yes, sir. So this is East Montclair Way. So the county is extending this road, or they would like to extend this road, East Montclair Way to Freedom Boulevard. So this currently dead ends in Pine Forest, but is the county's desire to build this road. It's approximately 650 feet extended out to Freedom Boulevard for greater connectivity. So here's the demolition plan and the site plan. What they're proposing is the right-of-way will be 50 feet wide in the neighborhood, but will expand to 75 feet. And what you'll get is going towards Freedom Boulevard out of the neighborhood, you'll get two 12-foot wide lanes, and they'll have one dedicated turning left lane, and then they'll have one 12-foot wide lane coming in from Freedom Boulevard. So the speed limit after construction for the speed limit for the road after construction will be 30 miles per hour. The street will have sidewalks on both sides. It will have ADA ramps. They are not proposing any new utilities except for stormwater infrastructure. This is a county project. It will be a county road and county maintained. They will need an encroachment permit from SEDOT to connect to Freedom Boulevard. So as far as any traffic control, DOT will have final approval on that. So this is also for sketch plan, and we will get greater detail at development plan. But this road is in compliance with applicable city ordinances. And that does conclude staff's report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions?
About where on South Church Street where that road comes?
It will run straight into. So East Montclair and South Church Street, they line up, essentially. Beside Lowe's. Right,
I'm sorry.
exactly.
No. But I will give you an opportunity if it's appropriate.
So, my question, so I see South Church, so this CG, is that county, is that representing the county, or what does that mean?
So if we'll
This
put
is the city.
the PowerPoint back up, yeah, it does run through city property, but it is a county project and it will be a county road that they maintain. But it does require planning commission approval because the right of way does come through the city limits.
All right, thank you.
And that road would come all the way across Montclair Road to that subdivision. That's all that's what I'm looking at.
Yes, sir. East Montclair Way just sort of dead ends right now, so they just want to expand it out to Freedom Boulevard, and it will just be a through road for greater connectivity.
Any additional questions? As chair, I think what I'm going to do is, I know there may be someone here that would like to speak regarding this, and I will allow one person to speak for this and one person to speak against this. So you know who you are in the audience. We are very structured when we do allow the public to come forward. There'll be no talking directly to anyone else but us. And when you come, you have to come to the podium, give us your name. That's purely for, for our minutes. These sessions are recorded, and we all will be cordial. And I insist on that. So if there's more than one person that would like to speak against this, you all have to decide very quietly. If there's more that want to speak for this, same thing. So out of respect to the applicant, if anyone is against or even have questions, I'll allow one person to come forward. Seeing no one, and we can't take questions from the audience. So if you have any question or anything to say, you have to come forward to the podium. We do not entertain questions from out in the audience. I'll ask one more time. Is there anyone that would like to speak against this or even have questions? I ask you to come forward, sir. Please give us your name, sir.
My name's Perry Heckman.
Mr. Ekman, I want to thank you for coming forward. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but we also want to hear from you, so thank you.
Yes, to start with, what kind of studies have been done to this proposed plan to come to this point?
Well, I'll let staff answer that question, but there are a good many studies that still have to be done. One, to get the encroachment permit to get access on to Freedom. That has to be approved through SCDOT. And that's when SCDOT will determine if there should be a traffic study, what size the entrance. I think they've already said 75 feet on the entrance on Freedom. So this is the early stage, but I would like for staff to reinforce what I've said and maybe answer your question as to what studies have been done and what need to be done. Staff?
Absolutely. Would we want to defer to the county?
Yeah, I mean, from a staff standpoint, you know, a sketch plan is a concept, and we look at it in basic compliance with our city code. So from that standpoint, you know, this is a first step, and they have generated a plan that meets city code, and we've reviewed it and confirmed that it does indeed meet city code with regard to road widths, you know, sidewalks, things of that nature, general concepts. At time of the official submittal, it'll get submitted to the city, and we'll take it through a much more detailed review, which will entail stormwater review, as well as DOT, because DOT would be the one granting the encroachment permit onto Freedom Boulevard. They may require a more detailed traffic study, and we may have to defer to the applicant to see what levels of studies have been done from that respect. So, and we do have representatives from the county here that could potentially answer that more in depth.
Mr. Dudley, the County Planning Commission also is playing a role here because the development is actually in the county. The only thing the City Planning Commission, which is us, is really allowing the county to take their road across city limits, and the county is going to maintain the road. So our job tonight is to make sure that the applicant has met the requirements of the city. Now, have they met the requirements of the county? You know, we don't have a dog in that fight. And we may have taught you how to build a watch when you don't ask what time it is. So please forgive the detail. Do you have any additional questions?
I do. Okay, you talked about stormwater runoff. What kind of preparedness have you come up with as far as dealing with the stormwater runoff you're going to create when you build this roadway, this right-of-way through here, which includes running through part of property that's owned by Ms. Brenda Hutchinson and myself? This is not county land. This is our land that you're proposing running this road through. So the ditch that handles all the runoff water from this entire area, from the Lowe's parking lot, from the Food Line parking lot, from the entire Freedom Boulevard road, all the way up and down from that part of Church Street extension out there, all the land behind between our property and Freedom Boulevard, all this stormwater runoff goes into one ditch, which runs behind my property.
Yes, sir.
And it is and has always been a problem for many, many years. And I have attempted on many occasions, talking to people from the county, from the city, from the state, talking to the last 3 or 4 managers that managed the Lowe's store about the problem with the runoff water that's been created by all this building that's been done over the years, and nobody has addressed and will address the stormwater runoff problem situation. So, you know, I've got major concerns here because this is going to add to the problem if nobody addresses this problem. And I've talked to many people about it, and everybody turns a blind eye and a deaf ear to the problem.
Mr. Ekman, I feel your passion, and I do thank you for coming forward. I will tell you that our job tonight is to approve a sketch plan, and the design and the engineering of what's taking place out there is yet to come. We have one task tonight, and our task will not deal with stormwater. Our task will not deal with the problems that exist out there. That is a county issue, and the decision will ultimately be made by city council and county council. So Your concerns should probably be focused on city council just to approve the road. It doesn't deal with, there will be some retention issues just with the road, but DOT is going to require disbursement of that stormwater. The county is going to require certain things. So keep your powder dry. Show up for city council, show up for county council when this comes up for approval. And I thank you for coming forward. Have a good evening. Is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf of this request? Well, speaking of the county. Your name, sir, like we don't know it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Kevin Yoakum, County Administrator, and thank you for the Commissioners for their service. This is an exciting project that the county has been talking about for over a year. If you look at the map that staff has displayed, there is actually, as staff has mentioned, there is a 50-foot right-of-way that dead ends at the property line that was established decades ago when Pine Forest subdivision was built. And as a matter of fact, in the early to mid-90s, when SCDOT built Freedom Boulevard, if you drive down there, there's actually a couple of curb cuts that are done right there on Freedom in anticipation of this being done. So it's been, almost 30 years since it's been contemplated. DOT, our engineers, one of which is in attendance this evening, has already been meeting with DOT for several months, maybe a better part of a year. DOT has indicated, that they appreciate this project. They're going through their approval process for encroachment and what have you, and you are correct. This is just the first step. It's a sketch plan. We've got development plans. We need to look at stormwater. We need to look at overall design. To answer Mr. Moses' question, where this exactly is, if you live on the south side of Florence and you drive down Church Street and you go behind Lowe's between the railroad and Lowe's, Church Street then turns a hard left and runs east and dead ends on Freedom Boulevard. And this would connect that and make an intersection there. You mentioned the County Planning Commission and planning staff. We're currently under discussion with an engineering firm to look at this whole area. We've been told 2 years ago that the Irby Street, Second Loop Road, Pamplico Highway interchange, and those roads that intersect there, if we do nothing, in 20 years the traffic there will be worse than what we're seeing at 5 Points. So this is one thing that we're looking at that will greatly relieve traffic in that area and improve emergency access to the hospital and what have you. So it's an exciting project. We look forward to your approval this evening. But as the chair said, this is just one step of many. And I know I'm not allowed to respond to Mr. Hickman, but I haven't heard from him. But as I step off from the podium, I'll certainly give him my card so he can contact me to keep abreast of what's going on at the county level. And if he has stormwater concerns, I'll be happy to work with him and share that with our public works staff, whether it's a county public works issue or a DOT issue.
Mr. Yoakum, if you could stay up there just for a second. Do
Yes, sir.
the commissioners have any questions for Mr. Yoakum?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Will there be eventually a traffic light at that intersection?
There may have to be. I don't know if it will, and that'll be a DOT decision. The chairman mentioned traffic studies and whatnot. They may require that from the outset of the project, or they may say, assuming it meets all the approvals in the process, they may say go forward, but we'll continue to study it, and they may come back in a year or two and say you need a traffic light there, and that. This is a total county-funded project from capital project sales tax dollars, and if they require a traffic signal, we'll certainly have to fund that as well.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Yoakum.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I will close what would be called a public hearing, and if there are no questions, I'll call for a motion. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like signs nay, and the ayes have it. I appreciate the participation from the audience tonight on that. And that brings us into our next item, PC 2025-11. Ms. Johnson, they're working you overtime. You better get a pay grade.
That's right. So this is for the final few phases of Magnolia Farms, phases 10 through 13. We are off the map. We are in Florence County and Darlington County. And this is for sketch plan approval. This is zoned RG3, 6,000 square foot lots, 60 feet wide. So this is a continuation of Magnolia Farms. And here's an overall view of the sketch plan. So we're looking at the most northeast section of the subdivision. You can see Anderson Farm Road down to the west. And if you look all the way to the south, that's Hoffmeyer Road, to just kind of give you a little bit of orientation of where we are. So we're up at the northeastern portion of phases 10 through 13. So we're looking at a total of 295 lots. So phase 10, 107 lots, 61 phase 11, 60 phase 12, and 67 in phase 13. The total area consists of about 90 acres approximately. So city water and sewer are available to the property. This is our stormwater jurisdiction, so any inspections will be on city staff, and if sketch plan approval is granted, they'll have to go through the development plan process as they've done in the other previous phases of this subdivision. They are requesting some variances for roads that are listed in the staff report. The minimum radius requirement given in the Unified Development Ordinance is 150 feet. And just to provide smooth, more vehicular friendly transition between streets, in a few places, due to space constraints, the engineers asking for 100-foot radius. And you can see these on the pictures where this occurs. Some of the justification is space constraints, but also the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit that is going to be in the subdivision will allow vehicles to make these slightly tighter turns in the locations that are listed. And city staff is in agreement that with the variance request, it's something we're in support of. And one of the things that comes up when we do the development plan is every 500 feet we're required to do some sort of traffic calming. Normally that's a speed hump or speed table to sort of slow down traffic. So it might be at some of these locations where it gets a little bit tighter, we might be a little more strategic in where we place some of these speed humps. So that is a variance request. Otherwise, the sketch plan is in compliance with the Unified Development Ordinance. And that does conclude staff's report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Staff? Y'all not staff, y'all are commissioners. Commissioners? Any questions?
But you building all these houses down up here, man, and are you already in Darlington County now?
We are in Darlington County, yes, sir. 301 acres total between Florence and Darlington counties. Approximately 900 homes, a little less. Yes, sir.
Already that agreement in Darlington County already?
We have been in conversation.
Yeah, we have been in conversation, and we're going to have to work out some emergency management concerns with them as far as responders and such. But yes, we have been in talks with Darlington.
So the Florence County side will annex into the city?
It's already all annexed into the city,
Including the Darlington?
including the Darlington.
Yes, it's
Now,
limits in
That's
Darlington.
not working with my head. How
Yeah.
does Darlington County just give
Yeah.
over to Florence County?
Well, municipalities can cross city
Oh,
or county lines.
Like Charlotte into
That's
South
right.
Carolina.
That
Okay.
Darlington County will still collect Darlington County taxes on their portion, and Florence County will can't collect Florence County taxes on their portion, but Florence City will collect taxes on both portions. So
And their address will be the city of Florence.
that's correct. The city
Even
of
in
Florence.
Darlington County.
In Darlington County. That's correct. Yeah. It's
You're trying to mess with us tonight, aren't you?
yeah. We consulted with other municipalities. There's some down in the Low Country that have crossed, and what was it? Like around Beaufort area and along through there that have crossed municipal line or county lines rather. Yeah.
Highgate does also.
Hmm?
The subdivision Highgate.
Highgate, yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
the
I
same
believe it
situation.
does.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yep.
Okay.
But Darlington County Schools, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Florence County address, Darlington County schools type thing.
This kid is going to be so mixed up. Where are you from? Well, you got a minute.
Depends on which side of my yard you're on.
Thank you, staff. All right. Apparently, we're in compliance except for the one request, and staff has approved that request. There is no public hearing. So with that said, if there are no further questions, I'll call for a motion. Thank you, Mr. Moses.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Yeah. And if there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And like signs nay, and the ayes have it. All right. Last one, PC 2025-10. They brought in the big gun.
I saw him lower the microphone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ms. Lane.
This is a request to rezone a parcel located on Dexter Drive from NC 15. The original request came in to NC 6.3, and this is tax map number 00150-01-140. Since we received the application, and this will look familiar, 2 years ago, this came before you as well. It's on the corner of Dexter Drive and Atwood Avenue, and at that time, the applicant also was requesting the NC 6.3 rezoning from the NC 15, and but the applicant has requested just in the last few days that we actually propose to you that it be rezoned from NC 15 to NC 4, and the purpose for that is an NC4 is also, it's single-family detached and duplexes only. So unlike the NC 6.3, it does not permit multifamilies. So staff's a little more comfortable with that. But it does permit lot areas down to 4,400 square feet and widths of 40 feet. And the purpose of that is the applicant is proposing mirroring the development that is on the north side of the water tower there, and doing that here on the south side at the corner of Dexter and Atwood. And so I've just put up a picture of that layout, and that's what he would like to do. The benefits to doing that instead of the NC 6.3 or 6.1 would minimize the number of driveways going on to Dexter Drive, could drop it down to as few as 2. But it would provide those cul-de-sacs off of that for multiple properties instead of a row of driveways coming off of Dexter Drive. So that would be the main advantage to that. But however he would subdivide it based on the approved zoning would have to come back to you as for sketch plan approval in the future. So the previous actions taken 2 years ago, they asked to rezone from the NC 15 to 6.3, and the Planning Commission approved it in February of 23 to be NC 6.1. There was some concerns about the stormwater issues, and at the City Council meeting in May of 23, a motion to approve the rezoning request failed due to lack of a second. So That was 2 years ago, which meets the requirement for the time allotment between rezoning requests, similar requests. And so that's why he's back before you today.
And that time allotment, is it 1 year or 2 years?
It's 6 months, actually, from a similar request, and then it's it's 2 years if the request was denied twice.
Okay.
But it was only once, so he's well within that, or outside that time constraint.
What is the lot size for NC4 that he's asking?
Minimum lot size is 4,400 square feet. These lots are roughly 5,000 square feet, the ones on the Inspiration subdivision here.
And the NC 6.1, what is the lot size?
The lot size on that is 6,000 square feet and 60-foot minimum widths. So he could get 7 parcels facing onto Dexter Drive that way.
NC 15.
And that's how it is right now.
No, right now it's NC 15, which requires 100-foot widths, and the parcel is 450 feet wide, so he could only get 4 lots right
Which is
now.
basically 15,000 or 16,000 square feet.
Correct, yes.
So, City Council, our commission, kicked it back, and we're still at the NC 15. Because our agenda doesn't reflect what this, unless you had that come across via email. We were trying to determine, should we go from NC 15 based on down to NC 6.3, which does allow multifamily, duplex, and smaller lot sizes, correct?
That's correct.
The planning department is saying, well, you know, at minimum, well, at the most we could possibly consider is 6.1. That would give them 7 lots, is that correct?
That's correct, and single family only.
And single family only. The NC4 has a smaller lot and can go duplex.
That's correct.
All right, so the commissioners, you know, we have a lot of balls in the air on this one. What I don't understand, and forgive me for hogging the questions because I want to open this up for everybody. Why did we approve in the history when the applicant first came to us? Why did this commission approve his request?
Well, initially, the first time, the commission deferred the vote the first time to look at the restrictive covenants. In February, it was confirmed that this was not officially part of the Kirkwood subdivision, and Planning Commission decided to approve, to go along with the recommendation of staff with the NC 6.1. So then that went to City Council in March, and they deferred their vote to get additional information about stormwater. And then at their April meeting, they referred the case back to y'all to look at further impacts on that increased density at the 6.1 level. You had a special called meeting on May 3rd, and at that time, you all decided to reverse your decision and denied it altogether.
And we're at 6.1 now? Or NC 15?
That is, he was requesting this, officially requesting the 6.3. Staff is still recommending the 6.1, and then he came back and he would like to have y'all consider the NC 4.
Okay, commissioners, are we up to speed on
Do
this?
you need flannel?
But the 6.1, but the 6.1 was denied last time.
It was approved and then
And then
denied.
And can I throw one more thing out there?
Why
You know, stormwater concerns came up in the past, and
that.
we do know that there are stormwater concerns on this site, and as
Not
such.
just from the residents, but from the city as well?
Right. We realize that because this is the parcel is over an acre, so a stormwater plan will need to be provided prior to development or subdivision of any of the lots. So, and we, although we have not applied any engineering to it, and the applicant would have to hire an engineer to do that study, we're confident that a portion of this would have to be set aside for some stormwater infrastructure of some sort. So we, even at the 6.1 or the 4.0, we don't think that it will reach full development. So there will have to be a portion of that parcel set aside for some stormwater infrastructure. So at whatever level it is approved, whatever density level, it would have to go through that planning.
You know, a question I have is we always try to transition from multifamily to duplex to single family and then larger lot, single family, and my question to staff and commissioners as well, if they elect to go duplex and they're in the face or adjacent to single family 15,000 foot lots, how does the city and the zoning look at duplexes adjacent to single family 15,000 foot lots versus 4,000, 5,000 foot lots duplexed?
Yeah, and that is part of the concern, and that's why, when we originally looked at this, we looked at it as a transition area, and the 6.1 seemed appropriate because it was a smaller lot size that allowed potentially more lots to be subdivided. However, it did only allow the single-family detached housing as opposed to duplexes or townhomes or multifamily.
All right.
My question.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. My question. So the last thing you said was you said 6 point.
You call it 4.0, but it's NC 4.0.
NC 4.0.
Yeah.
Just NC4.
NC 4. So the staff is recommending NC 6.1.
I don't think they're recommending anything.
Too many variables got thrown in at the end.
Well, yeah, I'm getting a little bit confused
Yeah,
because
yeah.
here's my question. Let me just get to my question because I was here when they were here 2 years ago, and there were some legitimate concerns, of course, and I think you addressed some of those concerns with the stormwater runoff that would have to be applied, whatever they do back there, and the slide that you showed. With the road coming out to Dexter, just one road coming out, and the houses, the water would run onto that street, and then that would run out to the road. Is that what the 6.1 would? It would have to be single family units that would run out to Dexter from.
Are you talking about if it was developed like Wake Robin Court and Merlin Place? That's something that the engineers would determine what direction, I guess, the water would flow. I think when they initially looked at this parcel, they were looking at it going to the rear of the parcel and then going into the ditch on Atwood.
Yeah, the long and short of, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, the long and short of it is if they develop the cul-de-sac concept, they would have to design this subdivision to be able to keep all the water on their site or on this proposed site before it's discharged in a controlled manner. So any runoff, let's take Wake Robin Drive here. Any runoff associated with Wake Robin Court would need to be collected and diverted to very likely a pond of some sort or some sort of or an infiltration basin or some sort of stormwater feature where it would take it off of the road, off of the properties and off of the road and to a structure of some sort.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Question. I remember this. I thought the 6.1 only give him 4 lots.
No, that would give him up to 7.
7, but he wanted what, more than 7, right?
Well, the original request, the 6.3, would give him up to 9.
9. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So what he asking for now? The 9?
NC4.
right now he's asking for the 9, but he also would like you to consider the 4, the NC 4, which would enable him to do something like that.
Which is 12 parcels.
Like that. The picture
I
of the-
see it, I see it.
With two, they would be subdivided off of interior cul-de-sacs though. But honestly, with stormwater concerns, we don't think that full concept could be realized. Only, at most, maybe two-thirds of that concept could be realized.
And then you also have that transition issue.
But my thing is, my thing is this, he really had to come up the way he's gonna put that water at Jack, am I right? That's number one. I think he need to come up with a study what he's gonna run, how he's gonna run that water off his lot into where he can make his development. Because right now, what I'm saying, if I'm looking at now, all that water is gonna stay where he builds his house at, and those houses right behind him gonna be flooded. That's what I'm looking at. Am I right or wrong?
Well, I think you are right, but I also think there are some other variables such as transition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if he is able to deal with stormwater on site and it doesn't burden, I mean, an engineer will have to prove that and show the city that. I'm concerned about the transition with possible duplexes into single family.
If he rezone.
And that's Drew Chapman. I have no right to even suggest anything. The 6.1 does give single family
Right.
15,000 foot lots, and we'll put this up for a vote and we'll see
Oh, yeah.
where it lands.
We got a public hearing on it.
Yeah, it is a
You
public.
had to remind me of that. Okay, so is that staff concluded?
Can I
on
ask
your
one more,
report?
can I
Oh,
ask one more
sorry.
question? The example you showed, what was that zoning?
That's R4.
Okay.
Or NC4, why do I keep on calling R4? Yes, that is NC4. And the NC 6.1 would permit down to 6,000 square foot lots, not 15,000.
Okay.
But driveways would have to go onto Dexter Drive.
Correct.
Any other questions? All right, with that said, I will open the public hearing portion of this. I will ask anyone against this to come forward first. You kind of know the routine. If you do come up, we ask you to come to the podium and give us your name. Thank you, sir.
My name is Kent Fields. I live at 720 Ansley Street, about a block and a half from this area. I don't have major concerns about what he's trying to do, other than I would be opposed to duplexes this close to our neighborhood. But my wife and I moved in there in 2002, and Malden Drive has always flooded, just about where you turn into the YMCA. You put a stormwater tax on our water bill that comes out monthly, and you've written about it a couple of times that you're going to address this issue. This has been since 2002. It has not been fixed. And what somebody suggested a while ago, if the gentleman goes over here and builds more houses at this particular zoning you mentioned a while ago at Dexter and Atwood, you're going to boggle up that area even worse. And my other concern is, what type of house does this man want to construct in our neighborhood? Is it going to look as nice as the garden homes at the Wake Robin area across from the Y, which is very nice? Or is it going to be a less modified home with vinyl siding and cheaper construction and less square feet? And what's it going to do to our neighborhood? How are the houses going to look? These are questions in my mind, and nobody's really answered that to my knowledge. Like I said, if they go with the garden homes in the Wake Robin area, bricked in, fenced, that's a very nice area. I like that. But if you're gonna come up with something cheaper, I'd like to know, because I'm not that far away from it. And I still have major concerns about the flooding on Malden. And when you have the excessive rain, it backs up on Brandon, and it goes up all through this area around the YMCA and everything. And in further talking a while ago, when you were mentioning it before, you said before the engineers, before county, DOT, nobody does anything. You get it right, and you do this, that, and the other, but we never see the answer. 20, how many years now? Malden floods every time. There's about 3 or 4 houses in there. We happen to know some of them personally, and they call y'all all the time when it floods. And y'all go out there and do that little pump thing that you got, but you never fix it. What are you gonna do? We're gonna ask an engineer, and he's gonna sign off on it again. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Those are great questions, Mr. Fields. Any questions for Mr. Fields from the commissioners? Thank you very much, sir. All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf? Charlie. This is old. We grew up on the same street years ago.
How you doing?
I'm good, Charlie.
My
Your
name's
full name.
My name's Charles Rambo, and I live at 1620 Brandon Drive. And actually, the city right away runs down my property, and I'm on the corner of Brandon and Waldron, which is a cut-through street from Damon over to Brandon. Brandon is it's not an ingress street. You have to come in from separate streets. And the water does back up, you know. I carry flood insurance for that reason. But what I'm here for today is I think y'all putting the cart before the horse, because unbeknownst to this man, there's already a resident on this piece of property that he's talking about. And he is protected by federal law, by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918. There's an owl's nest on that property. And an owl is considered a bird of prey. And you can't go in there and cut down trees and disturb that nest without a federal permit, then a state permit. And if you do move it, it's got to be approved by them before you can move the nest. But normally an owl will hunt. They hunt at night, and I looked up to see how far from their nest do they go. They hunt in a 1 to 3 mile radius. You can walk out in the backyard anytime, practically any night of the week, and you can hear him going, whoo, whoo, whoo. I got a 125-pound Great Pyrenees, and he will come charging out of the house at night sometimes, because the owl is in my neighbor's next door, is in his yard. Well, you know, an owl, the way they fly, you can't hear them. They're perfectly quiet. And he doesn't see the bird get up and fly, but I've seen the bird light in a tree in my backyard. And
Well,
he just
Mr.
sits
Rambo,
there and watches them.
I'm going to stop you there. I appreciate the research you did. That is quite amazing. But I will tell you, as far as this commission is concerned, we have no jurisdiction or authority, or quite frankly, it will be at a level much higher than us that makes a decision if that lowly owl would prevent someone from building there.
Well,
but I do appreciate that work.
He carries a pretty good fine if you mess with him.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Rambo. Okay, let me get my thoughts together. Is there anyone else that would like to speak against Okay, I'm gonna close that portion out, and anyone who'd like to speak for, please come forward. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Familiar faces. Yeah. Now, I could see he had been addressing certain issues. Sorry, I don't want to. So, first of all, there are duplexes on Atwood Drive. There is a multifamily just behind this lot. But let me tell you, what my thing is, we are just looking for a single family home. So that's what what I'm going to develop or what I'm going to build. Second thing is, let's say we are trying to build the same kind of development which is across YMCA, which Miss Ellen, if you can just put up this slide again.
DJ, can you put that up? Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm trying to build this, and we are trying to build 2 cul-de-sacs so that we have minimum of driveways on Dexter Drive. So that is first of all what I'm trying to do. Second thing, regarding when I'm building that development, again about those flooding issues, we got engineering. We'll have the approval from the engineering so that we have minimum flooding in that area to minimize that. That's only what I can say about it. Again, about some other concerns which they mentioned, I think so they are quite far away from Dexter Drive, where I'm trying to build these single family homes. So I think so other things which are needed might be for sketch plans or engineering drawing will present to make sure that we don't increase any problems, which we try to decrease. And second thing, houses, of course, it will be a decent house, because if I am building something, I will sell it. And if it's not decent or it does not match around with the surrounding area, my houses are not going to sell. Second thing, always what I will try to do is appreciate the value of the surrounding area to make it look better, to make I'm in a development side. I've been doing development since last 20 years. Way back in India, over a year or so, I'm trying to do the same thing, and always I think so development is for betterment. So what I'll try to do is I will try to build something good, which brings more value to this area.
Thank you, sir. Our job tonight, commissioners, they all know this, is to decide, and we're only a recommending body. This will go before City Council, is to decide, which zoning is most appropriate. And that's only our recommendation. The City Council ultimately will make that decision. I will say that whatever zoning is determined and passed, not here tonight, but at City Council, it will stand for a long time, meaning that if you never build, which is no doubt that you will, it will have a higher density. It will, the next person that buys that property will be subject to whatever the City Council agrees that zoning should be. As to the gentleman that got up and was concerned about the quality, I think that there are limitations as to controlling a property owner, as long as he meets any overlay district requirements as to the type, design, construction. Ms. Lane, Mr. Dudley can a neighborhood tell a property owner what he can and cannot build there as far as siding versus brick, or?
That's usually falls under an HOA regulations. This particular lot is not part of the Kirkwood subdivision, so it does not fall under those restrictive covenants.
Okay. So, with that said, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this? And this will be the last one we take tonight. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing portion of this. Commissioners, we have a good bit on the table. You know, we're looking at.
I'm going to just say this, you know, the issue had to be solved by flood problem. And see, that's what it came to us before 2 years ago, that it's supposed to solve that problem. And it hasn't been solved, yet, at this particular lot. And then we had several other cases about the flooding situation in their houses. And he's still doing the same thing. But see, the issue that we talked about 2 years ago haven't been solved. And that's where the water goes.
It's kind of the chicken or the egg. The developer typically doesn't pay for the engineering and have the problem resolved for retention until they know how many houses they can build there to design for that retention. So
He said how many he wanted, but how many?
he's asking for,
Asking for 9.
well, the NC4 allows for how many houses, Ms. Elaine?
The section that he's comparing it to has 12.
And
This
the-
lot is a little bit smaller than that one would be.
And the the 6.1, which is what was recommended the last go around, has larger lots and does not allow for duplex, multifamily,
That's correct. Single family only.
single family only.
So is that what I understood the gentleman say? I didn't catch your name. I know he spoke before, but I can't remember. But what he spoke to was single-family homes, is what he is thinking about building, and cul-de-sacs.
That to do the cul-de-sacs, he would need the NC4.
Okay.
Staff was recommending the NC 6.1.
And that would be single-family homes detached.
That's correct.
So both of them would be single-family detached?
Yes, the NC4 would also leave open the option for duplexes.
Okay. But he's saying he plans on single-family.
That's correct.
But whatever city council decides, if they do give them the option at duplex, he can do it.
That's
Even though he's saying that he's doing single family.
right. But that's in the NC4 with.
That's right.
Duplex. And the 6.1 would just be single family.
That's right.
Would it be possible to defer until we saw sketch plans?
I mean, it's possible. We don't necessarily require, there's nothing in the code that requires a sketch plan for a rezoning.
And even if we saw the sketch plan, and he doesn't have to follow that sketch plan even after he's submitted it.
Yeah, they're not binding.
All right, we got a tongue twister tonight. All right, so I'll close the public hearing portion of this. And typically I call for a motion. And Ms. Elaine, we're voting on whether to agree to what he's requested now, which is the NC.
You can recommend, you can make a motion for any of the zoning designations.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm calling for a motion.
appears that the NC 6.1, from what I'm seeing and hearing, that's what I would like to move.
Okay, I have a motion to approve a zoning or recommend a zoning to City Council at NC 6.1. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second.
Just to confirm, 6.1 is
The single family only, and
driveways
you
out
get,
to the road.
that's correct.
All right, I have a motion and a second.
How many he will allow, how many houses he will allow,
7,
instead of recommending 12 he want?
right. Or the 9 at the 6.3.
And they still have to do water. They still have to do water retention, all that kind of study, right?
Yes, it would still come to y'all as a sketch plan.
And what size lots will be?
Minimum 6,000 square feet and 60-foot lot widths. And since it's 450 feet wide, you can get 7, and they'd be probably about 65 feet wide on average.
And that's allowed in 6.1?
That's correct.
All right, any other questions? I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. I will call for the vote. All those in favor of recommending to City Council that the zoning be NC 6.1, say aye. Aye. Like signs, nay. The ayes have it. 6.1 is our recommendation to City Council. All right. I'm sorry, I've already closed the public hearing. I'm sorry, I cannot communicate from the,
No, sir. I was just saying like 6.1 and 6.2 was some confusion. That was only I was just trying to say.
tell you what, won't you talk to staff and explain that to him, and he can tell us if we need to revisit. Jerry, if you don't mind. I can't explain.
We did take the whole thing.
Yeah, we can
So it's over.
Yeah.
So it's over.
Yeah.
We've already took the vote.
Yeah, we've already taken the vote. It's adjournment or Mr. Dudley. Maybe, since we've already taken the vote, I think that we need to go to the next item on the agenda, and you can have that discussion with him after. All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Moses, next item on the agenda.
We adjourn until March 11, 6 o'clock.
All right, thank you very much. Need to do.